Hi and welcome back. As I have promised, I have a collage journal page for you today where I'm using some of my new collage papers that I've made last Saturday. Here you see the pages that I've made so far. For some of them I have a quick clip over on my Instagram page. I believe there are no reels, but it's a 1-minute video that is in my feed. When I do collages, I find it a bit difficult to start, so it's always a bit hard to decide which paper I want to use in the beginning, and this time I definitely wanted to use that light blue paper with the black texture. And I also use some other papers from my stash. This is a leftover paint paper. Whenever I have acrylic paint left over, I use a piece of paper to smear it on, and I also always use papers as a paint palette. I think these two papers are matching perfectly color-wise. Sometimes I tear my papers to get more rougher edges, and sometimes I just cut them with a scissors. The book I'm working in is nothing fancy, it's just a super cheap sketch bag from the Action store, and I have it laying around for years and I have never used it as it's pretty thick and hard to use as a sketchbook for drawing. And also the paper is not the best quality and it's pretty thin. So I decided a good idea is to use it for collages. So I have another layer of more thicker paper underneath, and I can use it like a simple art journal. And as the paper is pretty thin, I don't want to mess around with a lot of gel. I just use a glue stick to adhere my papers. The glue stick that I'm using is the Tombow glue stick. It's my favorite. I have mentioned this a lot of times in my videos. It doesn't give you a lot glue onto your piece. It just gives you a very thin layer and then it adheres super smooth to your surface. And with this glue you also have some time to work with it, as you can remove the piece again and place it to another area. I would say you have about a minute to do this. I will cut off the overlapping paper later in the process, or whenever I need to see the full page to make a decision where to put the next element. You will find the collage paper video linked up in the end cards of this video. And of course it's also in my uploads and in my jelly printing playlist. If I'm sometimes not 100% sure where to put elements, I just have a view through my camera onto the page. That makes the decision more easy. You can also use a mirror to look at your spread, or you can look at it upside down. This all helps to make the right decision regarding the composition. And this is the point where I find it hard to decide if I should adhere this strip or not. And then usually I try another option, or I cut the page to its right size. This is a jelly printed tissue paper, and I believe I did this in one of my jelly printing videos. I will try to find it and link up the right video in the end cards, but If not, or if I forget it, please just check out my jelly printing videos. And that tissue paper is not any brand. I didn't buy it. I had it in between some overhead foils. And I also sometimes use the tissue paper that you get when you buy some new shoes. What I like about that spiral bound book, you can just tear out pages if you don't like them, and if you like them, you can tear them out and frame them, for example. I wanted to do some stamping, and therefore I'm using that Mix a Sentiment stamp just to create some texture onto the tissue, and I'm using a yellow ink. I don't want it to be too intense. With a glue stick and tissue paper, you have to be a little bit careful because it's super thin. And by the way, if you haven't watched the previous video with the collage papers, the first paper with the black marks on it was a rice paper. It's meant to be used for Chinese watercolor painting. It's super thin, but it's opaque and it's really nice for collages. I thought about using another piece of this transparent tissue, but I believe I finally end up not using it. Or I believe I cut it in half and then I use it. We will see. I tried to record some videos in the past, not live, but with a voiceover while I'm working. But I can't do that. It's really hard for me to talk and explain while I'm creating because I'm in such a flow and I enjoy the process so much that I don't want to talk all the time, and that's the reason why I always make these voiceovers after I've made the video. And it's also a bit easier for me as I have kids around a lot of times, and then it can be a bit noisy in the background. And also I am from Germany and my English is not it's not as easy for me to talk English than talking German. I decided to get out some acrylic ink. I believe the color is indigo and it's an ink from Schminke. And I just use a brush and make some scribbly loose marks. The brush I'm using is a liner brush and I usually use it for my watercolors. If you use it with acrylic paint, take care of it and clean it very good afterwards. I will now use some gesso to cover the leftover paper so it looks more white and becomes a bit more stable. And if I want to add more to this page, I just can do it because I would not use any paint or watercolor directly on that bad quality paper. The gesso I'm using is the heavy gesso from Liquitex. I let the gesso dry and now I come back with the Posca paint pen. I'm using the white one and I'm creating some dots over that dark blue area. I believe it was a bit too centered for me or too intense, and I wanted to break it up by adding these white dots. What I always love are color splatters over a spread, and there I'm using that ink again and make some splatters. I wanted to add a main image, and what you see here is an ink drawing that I've colored in with watercolor. And this is also a new design for the new release that I will have in January. And as I'm sitting here making the voiceover, I'm praying that the postman will come today and give me the new engravings. I can't wait to press the new designs and try them out. I'm adhering that piece with some wet glue. To finish my page up, I will just add a word as a sentiment. That was my video for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you check out the previous video with the collage papers, and then I think we will see us next time. Bye!